Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly the way He deserves to be praised. We ask Allah to exalt Him, mention, grant peace, and send His blessings and salutations upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Imagine you were made in charge of a project. Someone gave you a house, but that house was built on a weak foundation. So you had to make a choice. Either you eradicate the existing foundation and establish a new one, which will be very costly and time consuming, or you take a risk. You say, I will renovate this house, I will build on it, and I hope and pray, inshallah, nothing will happen. And sure enough, you choose the other option, which is more practical, more economic, more financially friendly to you, and you start renovating this house, which is built on a weak foundation. Now you happen to be in an area where earthquakes are not uncommon. So every time you invest into this house, you get new furniture, new chandeliers, whatever you have on the shelves. A little earthquake happens, and you find out that a big portion of the house has been damaged. Furniture has been damaged. Sometimes a wall will fall apart, the roof will fall apart, the attic will fall apart. And you spend years of your life going through the process. Would you say, or would you think that you were better off to go for the safer option in spite of the difficulty? No doubt. And brothers and sisters, the condition of the Muslim ummah today is very much like this. The title of the talk is Change for Change. We all want the change. I think we've never been so emotionally bottled up. I don't think we've ever been as frustrated as we are nowadays. Because everywhere you look and everywhere you go, the Muslims are going through some sort of hardship. Even in the countries where Muslims are not going through hardship, there are issues. Sometimes you can't even speak. The concept of freedom of expression is one which is bogus, because freedom of expression seems to be with everyone except with us. If we were to say certain things, then we are to be scrutinized and demonized and held accountable, while the rest of the world technically gets away with saying anything they want about the Muslims, and it's standard procedure. So even in this regard, we also are frustrated. We have a lot of frustration. I'm not going to go into politics, you already know. Because politics is one topic that will split the ummah. As soon as you mention politics, automatically maybe this masjid 50 will go here, 50 will go here. We don't need that. You all have subjective opinions. We all have subjective opinions. Understandably. Because everybody looks at the world from their point of view, from their outlook, from their experience, from their knowledge. And we're not the same. Could we be wrong? 100%. Is it possible that you thought you've definitely figured it out and you don't have it figured out? No doubt. Why? Because the variables are not standard. Meaning, what are the tools that you use to judge? What is the source of information? It's source of information that in its nature is unreliable. The default of it is unreliable. And Allah clearly made in the Quran distinct rules and regulations. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. Oh, you have believed. If a corrupt person brings news to you, fatabayyanu. You have to seek bayan, clarification. An tusibu qawman bijahalatin fatusbihu ala ma fa'altum nadimin. Perhaps lest you wind up oppressing other people out of ignorance, and then you will become regretful over what you have done. So we can all agree that our source of information, for the most part, some people have direct experience. Let's keep them as an exception. We are all using the same source, and this source, my brothers and sisters, is not reliable. Therefore, if you really want to be safe, don't get into this entire discussion. But politics is not the problem. Even though politically the Muslims are struggling big time. Because we understand as Muslims the value of the Muslim life. In fact, we understand the value of life, be it Muslims or non-Muslims. Because even when it comes to non-Muslims, Islam does not teach what some people claim, that it's some video game where, in video games, you just kill as many people as possible, and the more you kill, you get more points. In Islam, if you kill an ant unjustly, Allah will ask you about it on Yawm al-Qiyamah. If you kill an insect that is not going to harm you, you are actually committing a crime in Islam. Let alone another human being, especially in the way the world has become. A lot of actions are justified, maybe according to them from Quranic verses, when in reality it's a misinterpretation and misquotation and misusage of the Quranic verses. So any soul is valuable, specifically the soul of a Muslim. And today we see them dying in wholesale numbers. And we have grown accustomed. Like it is normal that you wake up and hear, this area was bombed, a hospital was bombed, 100 people died, 150. Even we became, used to this kind of information. But if you really to think about it, if you were to think about it on the ground, what's 100 people dying, 100 Muslims dying? What is 5 Muslims dying? It's a calamity, it's a musibah of the highest order. One person dying is a musibah. Allah called it musibatul maut, the calamity of death. So the golden question is, all right, so what? Why is this happening? And how do we fix it? The truth is, we were already told that this is going to happen. We were already told by the Prophet ﷺ. He described the very condition we're going in today. In the famous hadith of Thuban. When the Prophet ﷺ said in Sunan Abu Dawud, يوشك الأمم أن تتداعى عليكم كما تتداعى الأكلة إلى قصعتها. Very soon, the nations will gather against you, around you, like people that are feasting gather around the dining table. Have you ever seen when we go to eat how it is? Suddenly the food becomes the victim, and everybody's going to reach and get what they want. And some people have manners and etiquettes, and some people he's willing to elbow you to get what he likes. It's a battle of who's going to get the chicken wings. If chicken wings is your thing and there's only a few of them left. So these nations will gather just like you gather around the dining table. فَقَالَ قَائِلٌ, a man said, وَمِنْ قِلَّةٍ نَحْنُ يَوْمَئِذ, is it because we're going to be small in numbers? We're a minority, and therefore the majority generally overcomes and exceeds the minority. You're inferior in terms of numbers. قال بل أنتم يومئذ كثير. Subhanallah. No, rather on that day you will be many. You will be many. ولكنكم غثاء كغثاء السيل. But you will be, in spite of your numbers, like the foam that forms on the surface of the river. Foam. You blow, it just scatters. You can't, if you weigh, you put on a scale, it doesn't weigh anything. If you want to use it to move something, if you want to use it to throw it at something, it does absolutely nothing. It's absolutely useless. It's just foam. You look at it, it looks like it's a lot, but in terms of substance, there is absolutely no substance. وَلَيَنْزَعَنَّ اللَّهُ مِنْ صُدُورِ عَدُوِّكُمْ الْمَهَابَةَ لَكُمْ. اللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانِ. Pay attention, ya akhwan, so that we have an understanding of the wording of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because I believe the biggest issue we have today is lack of understanding of aqeedah. The Muslims don't know their aqeedah. Therefore, when these things happen, they don't know what's happening or who's causing it. Pay attention to the choice of words. And those who know Arabic will understand. وَلَيَنْزِعَنَّ اللَّهُ, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu wa taqaddasat asma'uhu, who loves the Muslims and loves the believers and promised us all kinds of promises. He will remove from our enemies the fear that they have for us. Allah will do it. We will see why. وَلَيَقْذِفَنَّ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ الْوَهْنِ. After Allah removes the awe, the respect, the veneration that the non-Muslims are supposed to have to the Muslims, after that is removed, Allah will cast into your hearts wahin, which is translated roughly as weakness. But the Sahaba were not familiar with the term. فقال قائل يا رسول الله وما الوهن? O Messenger of Allah, what is wahin? قال حب الدنيا وكراهية الموت. It is loving this worldly life and hating death. The first thing we need to establish is that numbers are useless if there is no proper foundation. Just like that house that you continue to build stories upon stories and decorate it with all kinds of decoration, the foundation is missing, it will all collapse possibly in 30 seconds. Having numbers is only advantageous if in line with the truth. But if we are large in numbers, but we are scattered, divided, and separated, then those numbers are of no value to the Muslims. And I don't think any two people will disagree that today we are certainly divided, even on the basic level of masajid and their names. Masjid kada li kada, or masjid kada li kada. This masjid is for this denomination of Muslims. If you think about it, that's insane. Like, we are so used to this, like this is adi. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? This is a Salafi masjid, and this is a Barelvi masjid, and this is a Deobandi masjid. Like, it's normal. But is that really normal though? That's not normal. Where in the Quran and Sunnah was such behavior allowed? Where did Allah allow us to divide into sects? كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. Every sect joyous with what they have. Where did Allah allow this? Where is وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا? Hold on to the rope of Allah altogether and do not be divided. Where is that? Where are the Muslims that are working towards that? It's not, almost non-existent. Because we're so bent on what we've already decided that we're not willing to resolve these issues. And I would dare to say that the people who follow the way of the Salaf should be the most willing to invite and to give da'wah. It is not about keeping this da'wah exclusive and wearing it as a name tag or as a clothing line, and then just say, all of y'all, you can go to hell. 73 sects, yallah. Alhamdulillah, I am one of the saved sect. Allahu Akbar, Bismillah. La ya habibi. Those are your brothers in faith. Those are your brothers in faith, and they have the obligation. Do you understand that they were brought up into this? A lot of them are brought up into this. They don't know any better. So if we don't give them da'wah, who will? Now you give them da'wah, they reject, it's a different story. Yeah, we draw a line somewhere, because we will not compromise the methodology of the way of the righteous predecessors to appease any particular group of people. But this is like levels, and this is levels ahead. So we are divided in a big way. And the Prophet ﷺ is telling us that it is Allah Azza wa Jal who will do this. In another hadith, he said that Allah Azza wa Jal will يُصَلِّتُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلًّا لَا يَنْزِعُهُ حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ. That Allah again will afflict us with humiliation that He will not remove until you return back to your religion. Until you go back to your religion. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah does not change the condition of the people until they change that within themselves. The scholars say there are two interpretations of this ayah. Even though when you hear it quoted, it's often quoted with one interpretation, which is that if you want to be good, you have to change the bad. But the ayah also means that if you were bad, if you were good, you will become bad by not doing what is good. Meaning, if you were upon righteousness, Allah will not change your condition to evil until you change being good. Similarly, if you are bad right now and you want to become good, Allah will not change your condition until you change the bad, which is within yourself and within ourselves. So this ayah lays down the foundation that we all need to work towards. Because nothing else will work. Wallahi, billahi, tallahi. If we were to continue to try on Yawm al-Qiyamah to bring about the change and not do it according to the way of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, wallahi, we will never succeed. We will never succeed. Why are we wasting our time? Why are we trying to continue to renovate this construction on the weak foundation, why don't we just say, you know what, it's about time that we change this foundation, akhi. Let us start from scratch, even if it's a humble home, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and then we will expand and we will grow. But at least we know that even if there's an earthquake, la qaddar Allah, this place is staying in its place. Not every time there's an earthquake, we have to start from scratch. Today we're trying all different methods to bring about change. And as you see, it only gets worse. It only gets worse, and it will continue to get worse. This is why the scholars are the guides in this regard. When you refer in any matter of this world, medicine, you could choose Google and you could choose a specialist. If you search, the problem you're facing, some symptoms, you have some symptoms on Google, how many solutions or answers you're going to get? Hundreds. More often than not, they're conflicting. One will tell you, for example, you have you sprayed your ankle. Some will tell you that you should rest. Lift it up, put some ice, don't move. The next link tells you, walk on it, but gently. Make some movement, but that, Allah, I'm not a doctor. So obviously, whichever one is more convincing to me, whichever one sounds that they know what they're talking about, I'm going to follow their advice. And which is what we do, by the way. You watch a review, you see the review of this product. Oh, mashallah, people are saying good stuff. The people leaving the review could be the cousin of the owner of the product on Amazon. He told all of his family, look man, this new product I'm putting, everybody please go and leave a review 5 stars. So you read the first 5 stars, mashallah, great product. This product belongs in the trash. You understand? These things happen. So we're easily swayed. We're easily swayed. So you don't refer these matters. Why is it when it comes to the matter of the deen and the ummah's revival, the ummah getting back on its feet, we seem to accept the opinions of individuals that really don't know what they're talking about in this regard? Allah made the scholars, the ulama, they are the people that they are to be referred to, and not any alim. There is also a particular genre, I would say, of scholars that are very explicit in which type of Islam they follow. Because sadly we have this kind of division among the ummah. It has to be according to the way of the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, Atba' Tabi'een. This is something that we cannot shy or be shy about or feel that this causes division. If calling to the way of the Sahaba causes division, then I don't know what brings unity. How could anyone be criticized for saying, look man, I want to understand Islam, but not according to Sheikh Patutu from Matutu. I want to understand it according to a Sahabi, a Tabi'i, someone who knows what they're talking about. How could you be blamed for that? How could you be looked down upon for that? Forget about the name calling and the titles that some people give each other. Set that on the side. What is the crux of the belief? It is sticking to the way of the Sahaba. So ask yourself, I don't even need to answer, I don't even need to say anything at this point. I think each one of you knows the answer. What did the Sahaba do in order for them to have received the honor that Allah gave them, and because of that they were able to technically conquer the world? What did they do? What was their first trait? What was the main trait? Tawheed. How did Allah describe them? We quoted the ayah in the dars the other day. وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. The believing men and the believing women are allies to one another. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. They enjoin what is right and good, correct and good. وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. They forbid what is evil. There's no ma'lish, don't hurt the brother's feeling and don't speak about those issues. Kif? How am I going to choose your emotional state over the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ or over the Allah's words? Allah's words. The more you do this, the more you are mu'min and mu'mina. The less you do this, the less you are a mu'min and mu'mina. This is Allah's standards, not mine. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. They establish the salah. وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةِ. They pay the zakah. Some Muslims haven't paid zakah, by the way, ever since they become rich. Ever since they became rich, they haven't paid zakah once. I've sat with people like this, casually. Oh, by the way, is there zakah on gold or on property? I've never paid zakah. Brother, are you kidding me? Now you're asking, like 15 years later, you've reached the nisab, the threshold from 2002. These were rights of Muslims. That money you have is not your money. It's Allah's money that is supposed to be given to the recipients who deserve it. You're stashing it in the bank and getting interest on it too. Basics. Zakah, how many people, if the Muslims pay zakah properly, all of us pay, there will be no poor Muslims aslan. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, some people are so well off, he himself can feed a town. His zakah, his 2.5%, wallahi will feed a town of people for a year. But our zakah, Allahu alam, how, where it goes, who takes care of it, that's a different discussion. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. And then, who knows the ayah? Come on, this is one of the most important parts of the ayah. Bismillah. Anta, you want to get us all shut down, huh? It's not though. Adi, if it were, we will say it. وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. They obey Allah and His Messenger. أُولَٰئِكَ سَيَرْحَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ. It is those people that Allah will have mercy on. إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Verily Allah is full of might and most wise. So the solution for the ummah is to come together as believers. Now, here's the calamity. That we all went over the word believing men and believing women passively. Like we're just assuming that everybody is a believer. Do you know and can you believe and do you trust that today even the term iman, when attributed to certain people, we need to actually verify that they actually have proper iman? Meaning, are there people within the Muslim community or that ascribe themselves to Islam who actually violated the term iman for us to even call them mu'min and mu'mina? Absolutely. That's a calamity of another order. Meaning, we struggle to certain denominations, you actually struggle to categorize them as one of the sects of Islam. They might not even qualify to be one of the sects of Islam. Why? Because iman, the 6 pillars of iman, branches into many subject matters. And for you to be a believer, you have to know them and understand them. How many of the Muslims know the actual 6 pillars of iman except by name? I'm speaking from experience, and I could be limited in my experience. I acknowledge, I accept that. But in my interaction with Muslims, a lecture like this, or when I'm sitting with the brothers, or with my people at work who are not exactly practicing Islam in the ultimate sense, in my circle of communication and the people I sit with, you will be shocked that a lot of people can only name the 6 pillars of iman and that's it. يعني آمنت بالله أؤمن بالله جزاك الله خير. What do you believe about Allah? More than this, don't ask. طب ربوبية, uluhiyya, even if we're not using those terminologies, the concept of rububiyya, because he's going to tell you, oh, this is a bid'ah. You know, you just have to believe in Allah. At the time of the Sahaba, they were not saying rububiyya, uluhiyya, asma, sifat. ما في مشكلة يا أخي. Let's set the categorization on the side. Conceptually speaking, what do you know about Allah being the Rabb, Allah being the Lord, Allah being the object of worship, and Allah having names and attributes? Believe me, you can go on a 10-day marathon before you come to a conclusion with this brother. This is just belief in Allah. Then he asked the Muslims, وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ. What do you know about the angels? You will be surprised how many don't even know the names of the angels. There are some angels whose names we know, and their duty we know. And there are some angels that we just don't know. What are they made of? How are they described? What is their role in our life? You will speak to 2 Muslims. You will come up with 2 different aqidas. He says, I only know Jibreel. And in my part of the world, in Lebanon, we have Azrael, which is a weak tradition attributed to Malak al-Maut. They have a name for him, which is not authentic. And nothing beyond that. They don't even know the names of the other malaika. Even though some of them are mentioned in the Quran. What's after the malaika? أن تؤمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه The scriptures. The scriptures, how many are there? Let's see. You first tell me how many, then enumerate, Sheikh. 4 or 3? 4? طيب. They are? Give me the easy one. Quran, طيب ماشي. Injil, التوراة, الزبور. طب whose is it? Dawood alayhi salam. MashaAllah, top notch crowd. طب good, we got away with this one. 4 scriptures. طب are there rulings regarding them? Let me ask you another trick question. Yalla, since we're in the business of asking trick questions. So you read something in Old Testament which opposes something in the Quran. What do? What is our position? We reject. You read something that is in line with the Quran. We accept. You read something that is neither nor. What is the term? You remain neutral? You remain neutral. Another top-notch crowd, mashallah. We don't have anything that approves or denies. Allahu Alam. Allahu Alam, I don't know. Why say it's not when it could be? And why say it is when it could not be? طيب. After the kutub, Ar-Rusul. How many of the messengers, how many of their names do we know? And their stories with their respective prophets. Mind you, last I checked, almost most Muslims do a khatam of the Quran in Ramadan. Can we safely say that? I think very few people manage not to finish the Quran once in Ramadan. طيب, you've been Muslim for 20 years, 15 years. So if you don't read the Quran at all in your daily life, you only read it in Ramadan and you finish in Ramadan, you should have completed the Quran 15 times. 20 times, depending on your age. Some of the brothers, mashallah, 50 times. And yet, we still don't know what the Quran teaches. Because we've been reading in Arabic the whole time. It's high time that we read the English translation. So that you get the ajr of the Arabic and you understand what Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling you. Because the stories are durus and ibar. They are lessons. They're moral benefits in the stories. It's not just merely a story that is being told to you. You know, the scholars, they say every time you read or listen to Surah Yusuf, which Allah called Ahsanul Qasas, the best of story. Every time they deduce a new benefit from this story. The Quran is endless in this regard. You will always gain something from it. طيب, then after the Rusul, how much do we know about Yawm al-Akhir? Some will tell you it's a day where everything is going to be done. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Mr. Brief. There's a lot of ahadith and ayat about Yawm al-Qiyamah. And then lastly, Al-Qadar. That in and of itself is a subject that divides the Muslims. Are we Qadariya or Jabariya? Are you Mukhayyar or Musayyar? Allah decreed that you got into an accident. So Allah is putting you in this predicament. So you had nothing to do with it. Therefore, if you're a believer because Allah made you a believer, and he's a disbeliever because Allah made him a disbeliever. And therefore it's arbitrary. A lot of Muslims have this misconception, not making a distinction between mashi'at al-insan wa mashi'at Rabbil Alameen. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ, that you have a mashi'ah. And these aspects of qadr are hidden from us. So your job and my job is, somebody tells you, look man, you want to get to the hospital? There's a straight road over here that will take you 1 minute. And if you want to, go into a club, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, you could take this 25-minute route. What are you supposed to do? You're sick. Do you go to the hospital? You go to the club? You go to the hospital. This is the way to Jannah, this is the way to Jahannam. Don't sit there and waste your time about what if Allah decreed for me and what if you don't know what Allah decreed for you. Mind your business. This is the path. Do what you're supposed to do. Leave the matter to Allah. Will Allah Azza wa Jal ever betray His promise? Will Allah promise you that if you do good and you're sincere, I will put you in paradise, and next thing you know, you find yourself in hell? A'udhu billah. Khalas, case closed. Because the matter of qadar is a matter that is confusing for many people. But you will see Muslims also not don't understand it, don't understand Salatul Istikhara, don't understand dua. Why do I make dua? If Allah had everything decreed for me, does my dua affect the decree of Allah? But what's the difference between what is written with the preserved tablet, Alawh al-Mahfuz, and what the Malaika write on Laylat al-Qadr, which is the night where everything is decreed? All of these are aspects of Aqidah. And if you were to sit with 10 Muslims, you will come up with 12 answers. 2 extra answers will come from one guy who himself is confused about the issue. But these are matters, ya akhwan, that the Sahaba had no issues with, huh? The Sahaba did not differ on these issues at all. They differed on minor issue, whether the Prophet ﷺ saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in al-Isra al-Mi'raj or not. Adi. But those core matters were agreed upon. And today, those are the foundation upon which we believe وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Part of our wilayah to each other is that those matters are taught. Today they tell you, no need to study this aqidah, it's a waste of time. We are facing liberalism and secularism and madrishism, all these isms. Because we don't know these things. Because if you know your religion, how could you be a feminist? You cannot. If Allah gave men certain right and women certain right, if you're a believer, says, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا غُفْرَانَكَ رَبَّنَا وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ. You're not going to say, how come with this? It's not even open for discussion. You cannot be a liberalist if you truly believe that Allah. How could you want to free yourself from Allah's Sharia and legislation in your life? No way on earth. No way on earth. It's a byproduct of not understanding who Allah is in the first place. Actually, the first pillar of Iman is corrupt, is unsound. And as a result of that, people delve into these ideologies and deviations. Had they known Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would never go astray. And therefore, the scholars say, if you want to change the condition of the ummah, you and I may not be able to observe it. You and I may not be able to witness it. Why? It's been written that every era will be worse than the one before. So we are in some sort of trouble. But we were also told that we will eventually be victorious. And that they will always remain a group of this ummah upon the truth. They will never be harmed or affected by those who abandon them, go against them, criticize them, demonize them. Whatever the world is going to try, the entire world will come together, try to mess with this at-Ta'if al-Mansura, which the Prophet ﷺ called at-Ta'if al-Mansura. Wallahi, they will not be able to do a thing. يُرِيدُونَ أَن يُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. They want to extinguish the light of Allah with their words, and Allah will complete His light even if the disbelievers hate it. We've been promised by Allah that we will remain until the end. The question is, who will remain? Will your progeny and your grandchildren be from among those who have been saved and who Allah will bring victory through them? Or will they be from among those who have deviated from the path and abandoned the ummah at the time where the ummah needs them the most? So you and I, my brothers, are supposed to be the ones planting the seed. The thing that we may be failing in doing in order to change our condition is planting the seed. We keep preoccupying ourselves with other things that go against planting the seed. Therefore, it is of utmost importance that you allocate part of your life for Allah and for learning. It is not negotiable anymore. A lecture like this doesn't cut it. Jazakallahu khairan for coming. Allah bless you and accept from us. But that is not enough, ya akhwan. This is just a reminder. As soon as you eat a burger, you forget everything I said. Humans are forgetful. Insan from nisyan. You will forget. Somebody will admonish you. Your heart will soften. You feel that you're going to make a big change, and then it will die out. It will die out. That's why it's called tadhkira. That's why you're reminded. وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. The reminder will benefit the believers, but you need to be reminded at all times. So this is one reminder. But what needs to be done is acquisition of knowledge, especially the upcoming generation. And this acquisition of knowledge has to be according to the principles that the scholars laid out. At-tasfiyah والتربية. What is تصفية؟
تصفية وتخلية.
ينفع كلاهما صحيح. You know, if you make tea, don't you put this, what do you call that? Huh? Safe? I don't know. I'm an Arab, I don't know what y'all talking about. Alhamdulillah, I know some English words. This one I don't know, or maybe it's the British English. Or maybe, spell it for me. S-I-E-V-E. Sieve? Oh wow. I'll add this to the dictionary inshallah. So you put this and then the tea doesn't go, sah, it remains in the thing. You just get the flavor, extract whatever it needs and then it stays there. This is tasfiyah. Meaning Islam right now, sadly, imagine we're saying this, 2025, hello. Islam right now has people added like little rocks and pebbles, maybe some people with some alcohol, pork chops, أي شيء. Today the deen is, mashallah, people playing with the deen of Allah. They come and add all kinds of stuff. Innovation, every time somebody comes up with a new idea, why don't we do this and why don't we do that? Bid'ah are, mashallah, being generated around the clock 24/7. 24/7 people are inventing new things into the deen. Every year you discover something new. Like first Mawlid, you know, Mawlid al-Nabawi was already a bid'ah in and of itself. But then there's progression. They reach a point where there's a birthday cake and singing birthday songs. Can you imagine the audacity? Saying happy birthday to the Prophet ﷺ. Ya Sheikh, Alum. Yani, where do you draw the line? You're already doing something that Abu Bakr did not think it was important enough. Umar did not think it was. Ya Rajul, 300 years nobody cared about this. You wait till the Fatimites came and invented this celebration to compete with the Christians for their celebration of the birth of Jesus, and then what do you want? But today, if you speak about Mawlid, you're a Wahhabi lunatic. You hate the Prophet ﷺ. A'udhu billah. We never mention his name without saying alayhi salatu wassalam. And what's your concept of loving the Prophet ﷺ? That I write poetry all day and I sing all day? Because that's love for them. Love for them is songs and nasheed and getting intoxicated with these gatherings and jumping and I don't know what's going on. Well, we're just normal people. Alayhi salatu salam, and Allah knows how much we love the Prophet salam. In spite of our shortcomings, you become a person who doesn't love him according to their standards, their innovative standards. So does Islam need a lot of filtering from this nonsense? Absolutely. We need to remove all of these additions and deletions. Mind you, there are additions and there are deletions. People remove this part of the deen is a little too tough and rough for the people around us. It's okay, just don't express it, don't speak about it. You can't. You cannot. You could be wise. Yes, you have to be wise. Islam is the idea of I'm a brave man, therefore I am unhinged, and I say anything in front of everyone, is not from the way of the Prophet ﷺ. Some men, some brothers, this is the concept of bravery. Yeah, I don't care. Whoever it is, I'm going to say what? Ya akhi, you're going to shut down the entire masjid and the community. Hello, go sit at home. لا والله لا أخاف في الله لومة لائم. Ya Shaykh al-Islam, please relax. This is not wisdom. There's certain restrictions. Be wise. Be wise, because you always have to weigh the benefit and the harm. I'm able to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they're messing about with one. I play with this, the A, B, C, D will be deleted. And guess what? Someone else is going to come in with his own A, B, C, which will be completely corrupt. La. But people, a'udhu billah, illa man rahimallah, evil assumption, bad assumption, sellout, agent, you know how it is. They will come up with anything because there's no foresight and there's no guidance from the scholars on this issue. The scholars can assess the situation. لِكُلِّ مَقَامٍ مَقَالٍ. Every situation there's something appropriate to say. You play your cards right so that the ultimate benefit is the benefit of the community and the Muslims. As for this reckless behavior in the name of bravery, where we speak about anyone and everyone, because why not? Because of freedom of speech, that is not from Islam, wallahi. If it were from Islam, you'll be able to tell your father off. You'll be able to tell your father off. You are not allowed to say a single word to your father, including uff. Uff. What's that? What's the equivalent of that in the Western world? It could be the shrug, right? It could be a facial expression. Mind you, the smallest number was uff, because that is what's common. Any type of dissatisfaction with your father is not allowed. There's no freedom of speech in Islam in this regard. Can a wife say anything to her husband? Can she tell him, you know, you change profile pictures like women? Let's say a brother changes profile picture every day. His wife tells him, what is the matter with you like women changing profile picture every other day? Do you think a marriage will be able to establish on this kind of foundation? A man can't have this. A man cannot deal with this. His wife comparing him to a woman. You understand? These are statements that are irreparable. So you have to be wise. She could feel this way, and she could try to advise him through other people. There has to be wisdom. So similarly, there has to be wisdom in how we address these issues. But we cannot sell out. There's a difference between selling out and being wise. You can be wise, but the fundamentals have to be conveyed to the people. So we do the tasfiyah. We cleanse Islam from all the additions and deletions. And then tarbiyah. The word tarbiyah is associated, by the way, with the word Rabb. Why is he called Rabb? Why is he Ar-Rabb? The caretaker. Yurabbi al-khalq. Yurabbi is to caretake, to nurture. Tarbiyah is nurturing. So after we cleanse Islam from these calamities that they have brought upon it, may Allah forgive us and forgive them, we proceed to raise the upcoming generation on this pure Islam. On this pure Islam. And bi'idhnillah, those will be the people that will change the world. And it will be upon their progeny that Yawm al-Qiyamah will be established, when the righteous believers' souls will be taken, when the wind blows and goes under everybody's armpit, and their souls will be claimed, and only shirarul khalq, the most evil of creation, will remain, and upon them will be Yawm al-Qiyamah. But those progeny and their fathers who established this and planted the seed, all of them will be, as Allah described, fi jannatin na'im, in gardens. They're saying alhamdulillah that He removed this hardship from us, and they will be enjoying the bliss of Allah forever and ever and ever. Because that's the investment that we're making. The investment we're making is with Allah, not with anyone else, not with an entity, not with a government, not with an organization. We're making an investment with Allah. I want to invest my children and my children's children to be among those whom you will honor in this dunya and in the akhirah. For you to do that, my brother, there's no wishful thinking. Wishful thinking, as you have seen in life, does not cut it. You could wish to work for the greatest company in the world or for a big company, but if you're underqualified, they're not just going to be like, hey, would you like to work for us? I don't have a degree, no problem. I don't have any experience, no issue. You're the manager. Has that ever happened? Or maybe if you have a wasta. You know certain people that will happen actually in some places. Pakistan? Oh, yeah, Shaykh, I'm not Pakistan's in the bad. Type. How did we get here? That's Salat al-Asr? Tamam. I'm technically done, inshallah. So therefore we need to raise, yes, it's not wishful thinking. You actually need to make an effort. That might require that you send your children to an Islamic school, you sign them up for certain courses, you spend time with them learning the deen. You have 3 children, you want one to be a doctor, one to be an engineer, let one be a sheikh. Let one of them be a sheikh, the sheikh of the family, so that, if you memorize the Quran, you'll wear the Taj al-Waqar on your head on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and he will make dua for you. He's waladun salihun yad'u lak. He'll be a righteous son who will make dua for you, even though you might have messed up your whole life. Allah might place you in Jannah instead of Jahannam because of your son who makes dua for you in every salah. You don't know. But we cannot just hope that it will happen on its own. We have to make it happen. We have to take practical, immediate steps towards that. Finally, we should be good representation of Islam. And I know I'm guilty of falling short. We are all guilty of falling short. But that doesn't change the fact that we should be good representation of Islam among the non-Muslims, among the people in the community. I urge you all the time, I urge every Muslim, when in contact with the non-Muslims, please be a good representative of Islam. Have the basic etiquettes of smiling, looking nice, smelling nice, opening the door for people, helping people out, being what is the term? Your demeanor is one that is welcoming, where people, at least if they don't get to engage with Islam, discussing Islam with you, your behavior will let them at least start changing their perception of Muslims. Because a lot of us do a very bad service, a disservice for Islam because of the way that we are. May Allah forgive us. But it's not justified. And if we have a problem or shortcoming, we should fix it. Yes, I know when I play sports, I lose control. I need to work on myself to remain disciplined, that even if I play in sports, what's right is right, what is wrong is wrong. Each one of us has his own weakness, but we have to make that effort. So I noticed some Muslims, sadly, they're really rude. They're just rude, and I get really hurt when I see a non-Muslim being more respectful and have better manners than us, even though it's our Prophet ﷺ who was sent to complete manners. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. It is our Prophet ﷺ who was the best mannered man ever. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Allah made an oath that He is upon great character. Where is that in our lives? So that should be used. That is part of the process of tasfiyah and tarbiyah, so that the people will be receptive to Islam. So your neighbor who you've been giving food to every other week, every time you cook food, you go knock on the door, there, George, Joseph, whatever his name is, tafaddal, we made some food. He might not eat it because he doesn't like your cuisine. No problem. You've done your part. One day, when Allah allows, you will be able to sit down and say, by the way, this is what we believe. We believe in Jesus. We believe in Mary. You'll be surprised. These people don't know. They watch news and they're like, oh my God, I live next to a radical person. He has a beard, he goes to the masjid, he's wearing these clothes. That's what they know. That's what they think. We need to change that perception. We need to be good examples in the community. May Allah Azza wa Jal make it easy for all of us. I will not exceed the time in order to accommodate for Salatul Asr. Do we have time for any questions or answers, or we wrap it up? Who's the boss here? Then 15 minutes. Type. If you have questions, then we could answer, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. So you're the boss, Sheikh? Everybody points at the other one as being the boss. Nobody wants to be the boss, except in my company. Everybody wants to be the boss. Any loaded questions like last year? Ayat faddal. Go ahead, brother. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Paying zakat. So can you, for example, pay your zakat every Ramadan, although 12 months might not pass? So can you make it a habit to pay your zakat every Ramadan?
No. Yes and no. This could work for a person who does not know when they reach the threshold, the nisab. They're completely clueless. And then usually, because it's customary that the people pay their zakat in Ramadan, he begins in Ramadan. Tamam? In which case, khalas, now his yearly, the yearly nisab will be in Ramadan. So naturally he will be paying zakah every year in Ramadan. But if you reach the threshold in Muharram, tamam, you could pay in advance, but you cannot delay a single day. So why would a person pay in advance? Because it's going to mess up the calculation, unless you just want to pay more, in which case you could. But fundamentally, you cannot delay the zakah. So if it is due in a particular month and then you're waiting because it's not Ramadan yet, let's say there's 2 months till Ramadan, you cannot withhold zakah from the rights of the people until Ramadan comes because you've been told that the reward is more. Yani that whole concept, by the way, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, there's nothing in the Quran and the Sunnah that established the virtue of paying zakah in Ramadan versus other days, or versus other months. Salah, we know that there's Salatul Qiyam and Taraweeh and what have you, but the narration that the nafila in Ramadan is equal to faridah outside of Ramadan is a weak narration. And it could be because of these weak narrations that the people have created this perception that zakah in Ramadan is superior to other than Ramadan. No, zakah is best when given at the time that is due, on the same day. If you really want to be on good terms, because la qaddar Allah, you died, dhimmatak bari'ah, you've fulfilled your obligation and you're free from any ramifications of your shortcomings. So Ramadan is only for a person who somehow Allah decreed that they started paying Ramadan, khalas, they're hooked more or less. If you have another month, stick to the other month. Clear? Hey, barakallah feek. Another question? Wow, mashallah.
With paying in Ramadan, for example, and Ramadan month is getting earlier and earlier, like so last couple of years I've paid my zakat in Ramadan. So this year it's going to be before 12 months. So it's probably 10 months ago last Ramadan. So I'll be paying before 12 months is.
No, you're not. Because we're not concerned about the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar will always have a 15-day discrepancy with the Hijri calendar. This is why, what year were you born?
2000.
Gen Z? Type. So technically speaking, you're probably 26 right now. In Hijri calendar, you're probably around 26 or approaching 26. So all of you should really calculate your ages according to the Hijri calendar. Because the Hijri month is either 29 or 30 days. And the Gregorian month, more often than not, is 31 days or 30. Only February is an exception. So if you count, I think it's around 350 days, the Hijri year, and 365, right, is the Gregorian. That's 15 days. So add up those 15 days for a whole year. 15 times 12. Who's an accountant here? Aywa. Sheikh. Huh? 180. I'm going to take your word for it, because I'm not an accountant either. That's what though? That's almost half a year. That's 6 months. So your age is actually older than what you think. You're older than what you think. If you're among the older brothers, mashallah, tabarakallah, it could be a 2 to 3 year discrepancy between his Gregorian age and his Hijri age. Now when the Prophet ﷺ said, Muru awladakum bis salati wa hum abna'u sab'a, command your children to pray at the age of 7. Was he referring to the Hijri year or the Gregorian year? The Hijri year. And therefore you're supposed to do all these calculations based on the Hijri. So Ramadan can come in March this year and in December the next year, assuming hypothetically, it doesn't matter, you're just concerned with Ramadan. Tamam? Tfaddali. Alaikum salam.
I think you might have answered it already, just following what the said. So let's say, for example, if you paid it on the 1st of December, next year, pay it on the 1st of December. Again,
no, you don't. You're not concerned with December. You paid on the 3rd of Ramadan, you will pay on the 3rd of Ramadan the next year.
No, I just mean in general, not in Ramadan. I just mean like...
Even in general, the calculation of the one Hijri year, al-Hawl, what they call al-Hawl, is calculated based on the Hijri month. And they will not be the same. They will never be the same, the Gregorian and the Hijri. So for example, if you say December 1st and December 1st, and December 1st in 2024 coincided with the 2nd of Muharram, the December 1st, 2025 might coincide with the 4th of Dhul Hijjah, for example. How are you going to do it? Forget about December. So find out when you paid the zakah. Like let's say right now you don't know. You paid it December 1st. Go on a converter, date converter, and put 1st of December 2024. It's going to tell you, for example, 3rd of Muharram, 1446, 1446. Khalas. From that day, you count 1 year. And then you pay the zakah again and forget everything related to December.
How many days are in the year?
350, roughly. Because in Islam, it's the difference between us and them is that they don't want to go through difficulty, so they made it fixed.
Can I just take up 15 days?
La ya Sheikh, why? Yeah, Captain, it's easy. You just download it. Even Google will convert it for you. Hey. No, but also get accustomed to the Hijri calendar. Because every year it will change. We don't know whether the month is going to be 29 or 30 days unless we see the crescent, the moon sighting. That's why every year Ramadan could be this or Eid could be that. Sah?
So if I did pay it next year on the 1st of December, then that would be over the threshold.
Yeah, you could be messing up either by paying in advance or paying too late, and you don't want any of that. Zakah is the right of the people, and we have to be very diligent in executing the rights of the people on time. Hey, barakallah feek. Tfaddal. Hey, Sheikh.
How can you explain Qadr Allah to a layman, like in a layman way? As in, like, I've got somebody that's like interested in Islam, but he can't wrap his head around like Qadr Allah, and we haven't got free will. and Qadr both at the same time? How does that work?
That's a good question. Usually the best way to deliver such religious concepts to non-religious people is by giving them a worldly example they can relate to. Now you could come up with one of your own. I've come up with some of my own in the past. You might find it suitable, you might not find it suitable, I really don't know. But if I remember correctly, first of all I have a lecture on the subject titled, Do I Have a Choice? Right? And there we break down the matter of qadr. But it's very similar to what I said to the brother earlier, that this aspect of the unknown is unknown to you, right? So I usually give the example of, I remember the example now. Maybe some of you know it, some of you don't know it. So you have a boss at work. The boss tells you, what's your name? Hussam? Type. He says, yeah, Hussam, I'm going to observe you for 1 week. And after this 1 week, I'm either going to promote you or fire you. Fair and square? Type. You, Hussam, have two choices. Choice number one, you decide that this is an unfair kind of, ultimatum. So instead of coming to work at 9 o'clock, you come at 11:30, wearing your pajamas. You come into the office, you put your feet on the table, you're reclining back, drinking tea. Everybody's coming to the office, hey, what are you doing, Hussam? This boss man, he said after 1 week, either he will promote me or fire me. This is not fair. What are they going to tell you? You're crazy. Hussam, you're crazy. Right now, you will be fired. Fair? The other option you have, Hussam, is that you say, okay, I don't know what this guy has in mind. I don't know what it is. I'm going to do my job. What is your job? To come on time, to do your work. So you're the same old Hussam, doing your work, fearing Allah because you're doing what you're supposed to do, what you're getting paid for. Even if he was going to oppress you and fire you, you're doing what you're getting paid for. Can any two people disagree that you're supposed to be the second? That you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do? Right. After it's said and done, if you were to do what the first one would do, which is neglect work, you will be fired. But let's say you did your job and he fired you anyways. Right? Is that possible? Yes. Why? Because he's a creation of Allah. Because he is unjust. So then you say, let's shift this concept to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah told you, you do this and you will go to paradise. And you do that and you will go to hell. And you don't know. You don't know the end result. Will Allah ever, after you do your job, betray the promise and place you in hell? Your boss might. Allah will never do. What's the evidence? Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَظْلِمُ النَّاسَ شَيْئًا. Allah does not oppress people in any way. وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبَّكَ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ. Not even a grain of a mustard. Allah will never oppress anyone. وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Allah does not oppress this. All the Quran is telling you that Allah does not oppress anyone. Therefore, you don't know the qadr, but you will be facilitated towards that which you were created for. So do your part and trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feek. Ya Allah wafaqak Allah. Naam.
Barakallah feek.
Feek barak.
Sheikh, what can we do if we have deviant beliefs that are entering our hearts and are calling us shubuhat? For example, if someone's living in an area where there's shubuhat everywhere and these doubts are entering his heart, so what can he do to avoid it and also stay away from entering into those shubuhat?
Run. There's an area, there's a group, there's a location, there's a whatever it may be where doubts are being popularized and spoken about, and you don't have knowledge to deal with them. Run. Remember the hadith of Hudayfa. The hadith of Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, when he asked the Prophet ﷺ about al-khayr wa shar, he told him that towards the end of time, it's going to be real bad. He said, what do I do? He said, stick to the imam of the Muslims and the community of the Muslims. He said, what if they have no imam and no community? He said, اعتزل تلك الفرق كلها. Abandon all of these groups. ولو أن تعض على أصل شجرة ويأتيك حتى يأتيك الموت أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Even if you were to bite on a root of a tree until death comes to you. Meaning when people start speaking about the religion in all kinds of ways and confuse the people, and you don't have the ability to defend yourself or defend your belief because of these doubts, abandon all of these people, even if you were to die on your own eating on a branch of tree, on a root of a tree. This is the advice of the Prophet ﷺ to who? To Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman radiallahu anhu ardah. Because the fitan, as he said, fitnatun amya, it will be blind, a blinding fitna, trials that will blind. Yani the person of sound intellect, as the hadith says, يُصْبِحُ الْمَرْءُ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا. Allahu Akbar. You wake up in the morning a believer, you go to sleep as a disbeliever. وَيُمْسِي مُؤْمِنًا وَيُصْبِحُ كَافِرًا. You go to sleep as a disbeliever, you wake. The fitan will throw you off. And not everybody is fit for this. So if you fear for yourself, there's no ba's, no harm, no shame, nothing against you to leave all of these discussions and all of these people. Don't watch debates, don't listen to debates, don't hear what Fulan has to say versus what Fulan said to him, then what he said to him. It's not for you, leave it alone, ya akhi. Busy yourself with learning the deen. As long as you're reciting the book of Allah, you will never go astray. You can never go astray by reciting the book of Allah. All these people are yapping and waffling. Let them yap and waffle. You go read the book of Allah. You will find in it shifa for what's in your heart. You find guidance in it. Hudan lil mu'mineen. And Allah Azza wa Jalla will protect you with the Quran. Allah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Tfaddal. If a jinn enters a blind person, will the jinn be blind? Did I understand you correctly? When he's inside? Wallahi, I am not an expert on jinn. I was telling the brothers the other day, believing in jinn is part of our iman. Right? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We know there's jinn. I don't think about them at all. I live my life as though jinn don't exist. As though they don't exist, even though I fully know they exist. Meaning this whole obsession that the people have with dark rooms and jinn here and jinn there, it actually messes with you, right? And because of that, you know, people wind up, subhanallah, they afflict themselves indirectly by over-obsessing with something. And the Arabs have an expression, they say, the one who is afraid of something, it happens to him. It happens to me all the time. Like, I'm a clean freak. So I'm always worried about dropping food on my clothes, right? So I go through all the measures in order not to drop food on my clothes, and what happens? I drop food on my clothes. And everybody else was eating like, he's eating like literally like this, and the food is just flying around him, nothing touches him, and then it just falls on me. When you're afraid of something, it kind of comes to you things. So jinn, they are part of our iman, but do not obsess or do not overthink about them, because it will drain you and it will affect your normal life. And I'm not an expert on them, so I can't answer that question. I have no idea. You can ask Abu Ibrahim or Muhammad, Tim Humble, or those brothers, mashallah, tabarakallah, have their experience in that field. I have zero information on the reality on the ground and experience in that field, so I apologize. But I wanted to give that general reminder, because I know that a lot of young kids, when we were growing up, may Allah forgive our families, wallahi, they used to petrify us with jinn. Like, they tell us so many jinn stories that you become just scared. You're scared of everything, scared of going anywhere, scared of the lights going off in the bathroom, scared of... We lived scared lives. I don't think that's healthy or part of iman. Now, someone else? Itfaddal.
Sheikhna, I wanted to ask, if sometimes people give nasiha,
Hey.
and they themselves don't act upon it. For instance, some people, like some fathers, they smoke, but they don't want their kids to smoke, yet they tell them to don't do that. So my question is, can they do that? Because Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. So is that recommended?
They absolutely can. They absolutely can, and you absolutely have to obey. As for them violating their own advice, Allah will hold them accountable. So let's split it. Is it ideal to do so? No. But let me bring another point that you might be not familiar with. Let's say I don't pray Qiyamul Layl ever. Am I allowed, as a caller to Islam, to encourage you to pray Qiyamul Layl? Yes or no? Absolutely. Let's say I look at women. A'udhu billah. Am I allowed Or am I no longer allowed to tell you not to look at women? Someone asked me, Sheikh, what is the ruling? Sheikh, of course I'm saying it casually like you guys say it. Not that I ever thought I was a Sheikh. Allah is my witness. Said, Ustadh, is it allowed to look at women? I'm like, Wallahi, I can't tell. You're going to say, why? You look at a woman all the time, so you can't tell me? So the scholars say it's one crime. It's one crime that you're not doing something. It's another crime that you're also not doing, enjoying the good, forbidding the evil. So if the father, for whatever reason, is smoking, tamam, and he knows that smoking is harmful, and he knows he has authority over his son, can he tell him not to smoke? By all means. And the son should not be worried about his father smoking, not smoking. He should be worried about, is he obeying his father or not? And his father is telling him to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for the father, then a person of knowledge will take him on his side, say, Ya Shaykh, this is not appropriate. أتأمرون الناس بالبر وتنسون أنفسكم وأنتم تتلون الكتاب أفلا تعقلون. Do you enjoin the good upon people and you forget your own selves while you recite the book? Do you not reason? Somebody can advise him. Maybe he has an issue, maybe he has an addiction, maybe the problem is bigger for him, and for the son it's still manageable. So in these cases, akhi, we can never make this like broad, overgeneralized ruling where we wind up oppressing one of the two. You have to do tafsil. You have to break it down into all of these scenarios so we can arrive at a just assessment and a just advice. Hey, barakallah feek. Jazakallah khair. Done. Okay. So, subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.